So this was scheduled to be breaking the news of Stephon Gilmore and Jaylon Smith being released by their respective teams, but we actually have some breaking news. Cornerback Stephon Gilmore has no longer been released. He has now been traded to the New England Patriots in exchange for a 2023 sixth-round pick. We're about to react to it, but first, let's play a little ditty. So here we are, and I apologize for being late because the news broke as I was about to hit the live button. I actually even put up posts and everything talking about reacting to the releases of Gilmore and Smith. And I started getting messages like crazy that he was being traded to the Panthers. So I confirmed that it was real and adjusted everything. We had a little bit of graphics and everything, just quick graphics put together already. Here's what I had for Gilmore, and I actually had the Panthers as my number one team in the cap logic section to try and acquire him and go after him. And probably the Panthers saw – I'm getting a phone call. Oh, snap. The Panthers probably saw that teams were going to be hungry to go and get Gilmore. And I was thinking that he was going to the Green Bay Packers also. I know I put up a post that had him going to the Seahawks on my Instagram page, but that's just kind of an initial reaction just because I know how bad the Seahawks need him and that they have a little bit of cap to spend. I was thinking Green Bay just to keep him out of Tampa Bay because Green Bay probably had the hindsight that Tampa Bay's weakness right now is their DBs with their secondary being so banged up, and they do not want to see those guys get their hands on Gilmore also to add to that team, as well as the Packers' secondary is a little banged up with Jair Alexander. But it is official. Stephon Gilmore will be heading to the Carolina Panthers in exchange for a sixth-round pick in 2023, which is a couple years from now. So basically the Panthers get him for free. They do have to take on his cap hit, which I'm not sure what it is, but I'm sure it's a large number for his injury prone so far this season. What are you guys thinking so far about this deal to Carolina? I think it's a good move by Carolina. I'm excited for Carolina. They're a team that feels like they can contend. They're a team that feels like they're on the up and coming. The defense has been playing very well, and I wanted Carolina to go after Richard Sherman in the offseason because I really enjoy Carolina's secondary. And I think with J.C. Horn, who is injured, unfortunately, now, and Dante Jackson, those two guys were a lot of fun together. And I really felt like a veteran to lead that young group of DBs was perfect for them and a perfect fit for them this offseason. They didn't really bring in a veteran like that, but now we see they make the move for Stephon Gilmore, who is officially going to the Carolina Panthers to help out their secondary. That news just broke literally a couple minutes ago before we went live. So everything I had prepared to talk about Gilmore and his possible landing spots is all out the window now. As you see, I had some other landing spots on this page for him. But he is a Carolina Panther, who was the team that I had at number one for the cap logic side, just because I felt like they could use that veteran experience in their secondary. Now you add him to Jeremy Chin, you add him to Dante Jackson, J.C. Horn when he gets healthy and comes back. This team's going to be good. This team's going to be good, and they're showing here with this move that they want this defense to continue to play above what any of us expected for the rest of the season. Go ahead and pop in the live chat. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. We're going to be reacting to it together. We're also going to be talking about Jaylon Smith here in a second, so don't worry. We're going to talk about him, and there's some Justin Fields news that I'm going to pop onto the screen eventually. But for now, the Carolina Panthers acquire cornerback, former All-Pro, Pro Bowler, Stephon Gilmore from the New England Patriots for a 2023 sixth-round pick. So let's get into the chat here and see what's happening. RC Productions, Patriots fan. He's going to the Panthers for a sixth. Shows what he is worth. Yeah, I mean, with the injuries and his contract situation, it's going to be hard to get very much for him. And that's just the reality of the situation. If Stephon Gilmore comes back and is 85% of what he is, this is an absolute steal for Carolina. This is an absolute steal for any team that acquired him for whatever price they would have been able to acquire him. It is kind of weird that the news broke already that he was released, but he wasn't fully released apparently. I bet the Panthers probably called in when they saw the news broke and said, hey, we'll send you something for him if he's not officially signed those papers yet. And here we are. And he says he's big on Jackson, and Patriots fans have reason to be high on Jackson. Jackson was amazing last year. There were moments where we questioned a little bit, but he's overall a playmaker on the football. And to start off this year, he's showing that he can do it again. Boda Sports is waving. What's up, Boda Sports? Simply Dab is Jaylon Smith to the Chargers. Makes so much sense. I'm going to get into that. I want to give everyone a chance to react to the Carolina Panthers acquiring Gilmore first. Then we'll talk about Jaylon Smith and what that means for him, who's a free agent. Stephon Gilmore here on this graphic is a free agent, but he is no longer a free agent. He is a Carolina Panther. That's going to be interesting. And this is a big move for Carolina. This is a flex move for Carolina. This shows that they think that they are ready to contend. And for Gilmore, I think he's going to be available after week 6 to be activated from the PUP list. That gives him plenty of time, 2 or 3 weeks as a cornerback in this defense, to come out and have some kind of knowledge of the playbook and not be playing completely blind when he does get out there. And they may even hold off until week 7 or 8 to bring him out and unveil him. Fact, J.C. Jackson has 10 less interceptions than Revis in his career. Yeah, he is a playmaker. I will say that right now. And I'm starting to lean on the corner in Dallas, Trevon Diggs. He is a guy that is a playmaker at corner, and he's making plays on the ball a lot this year too. So we're seeing something similar to what we saw with J.C. Jackson's breakout last year with Diggs in Dallas this year. It's fun to see. You'll see. What do you guys think about the Gilmore to Carolina news? Simply Dabs here. I like the Seattle prediction for Gilmore, and I thought a big contender that would go hard for him. Yeah, and that was my initial thoughts immediately. But anytime a big name DB becomes a free agent, I instantly think Seattle, just because if they want to keep this team together and they want to stay in contention, they've got to fix the defense. They've got to fix the secondary. They may even be in the running for Jaylon Smith, for all we know. I know they got Bobby Wagner, but losing KJ Wright hurt them a ton. Again, here's who I had for if he went into free agency, who would made sense to grab him on the cap logic side. I actually had the Panthers at number 1, so it makes sense that they went and got him. I was thinking Green Bay. I was thinking Seattle. I was thinking these kind of teams. Green Bay, I think, has $7 million, so they're not way off of Seattle's cap space available. They could have gotten in there. And then Tampa Bay obviously was in the running, as they are every time a free agent comes up. And Kansas City as well. Their secondary is a little bit shaky, and they could have used him. But he is going to the Carolina Panthers for a 2023 6th-round pick, so they got him for pretty much free. Congrats to Panthers fans. Got to be excited. Congrats to that defense. They're adding a stud on that side. I'm surprised the Chiefs didn't go for Gilmore with a 4th-ish pick. Yeah, you'd think that would make sense. But, again, they would have had to have played some cap magic to make it work. Maybe Mahomes would have to take a pay cut, another pay cut. Or Hill would have had to take a pay cut, or Kelsey. Or someone would have had to take a pay cut, a massive pay cut, to bring Gilmore in. And it just takes too long to get that worked out, especially when he's about to hit free agency and the Panthers just pull the trigger and say, send us for this 6th-round pick. We'll give you something for him. For the Patriots, I don't think it hurts them too much. They didn't have Gilmore for most of last year. They haven't had him at all yet this year. So he's kind of basically been off the team for a little while now. The Patriots are going to be similar. They're not taking too much of a hit from this. The Panthers obviously getting the boost of adding Gilmore, especially as J.C. Horn is trying to recover from his injury. And like I said, if Gilmore can come back and is 75, 85% of what he was in New England in his prime, this is an absolute steal for Carolina. You got to be excited if you're a Carolina Panthers fan, acquiring Gilmore like this for pretty much nothing. It's a big-name player who still probably has something in the tank. He's 31 years old, and he's going to be able to play half the season this year after basically resting for an entire year. So that's interesting. Same Old Sports is in the house. Let me know your thoughts real quick before you go on Gilmore to the Panthers. Gilmore to the Panthers is official. I don't know if you've heard the news, Same Old Sports, but Gilmore is now a Carolina Panther. Panthers got a good CB, so Same Old Sports is with me. I think that it was a good move for them. That's a team that made a lot of sense to go and get him. I think he will still help. Yeah, I think he will too. And I don't even think he even necessarily needs to worry about coming in and being like a shutdown corner. He can be a guy that they use in different situations. He can be a guy that they take away a second option. Say when they played Tampa Bay, they just say, Gilmore, all we want you to do is go and take away Chris Godwin. and then we'll make a game plan for Mike Evans. But if you take away Chris Godwin, that gives us a lot less to worry about, and we can just focus on trying to slow down Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Gronk, and the other weapons on the offense that you can kind of do with a combination of brackets and zones and everything like that. Gilmore's injuries and the cap hit worry me from the Chargers picking him up, not going to lie. Yeah, and the Chargers secondary is very much intact. How do the 49ers not try and trade a pick for him? Yeah, the 49ers would have been another landing spot that he could have possibly went to. They're a contending team. They got a good defense. The secondary is a little bit shaky. It's not amazing. It's not amazingly scary. Like you're not terrified if you're a 49ers fan. You still think that you have a really good defense. But you would benefit from picking up a guy like Stephon Gilmore. We saw what Richard Sherman did in the leadership category for that team last year as their veteran cornerback in the room. Let's see what Boda says here. The fact that he went from a first-round price tag to a sixth is insane. It is insane. And that's why I'm saying the Panthers got an absolute steal. Gilmore, biggest problem is going to be the cap hit for them. That's what they have to worry about. As far as spending on him, like even if he doesn't work out, a sixth-round pick in 2023, 2 years from now, you know what I mean? That basically was, we don't want to fight other teams on the free agent market. That's basically what they were saying with making that deal. It is kind of weird, and let me know if anyone else has a weird, like why didn't the Patriots put him up for trade in the offseason? Or did they, and no teams were, as interested back then, and with injuries and with the COVID rules and everything now, getting that corner and getting some more depth is more valuable than it was in the offseason. But I feel like if there was a bidding war in the offseason, he would have went for a third-round pick or a fourth-round pick, or even maybe more than that. Yeah, it's not even this year's draft. It's next year. So it's not even 2022. It's 2023, sixth-round pick. I mean, think about what you're getting with the sixth-round pick. You're not getting – I mean, with the Patriots, who tend to get diamonds in the rough, that might turn into something crazy. But for most teams, sixth-round pick doesn't hold too much value. If you guys want to keep an eye on RC saying they tried, I'm not sure what the deal was in the offseason with Gilmore and not trading him. He's an aging corner. He's still good, but Bill probably wanted a first and a late rounder. You weren't going to get that for an injured, max deal player who's in his 30s at that position. It's just not going to happen. When you lose a step as a corner, you lose a lot. They'll get compensatory picks better than that sixth. Oh, there probably is compensatory things in the deal, so we'll see how Gilmore plays. There's probably compensatory stuff in the deal that we haven't seen yet. But the initial is a sixth-round pick. That's a good point brought up by Simply Dab YT right there. But he's saying they tried to trade Gilmore. If the sixth-round pick was thrown up as the price tag on Gilmore in the offseason, he wouldn't have been a Patriot going into the year. So either the Patriots were asking too much in the offseason and no team was willing to do it back then, or they had plans for Gilmore and something's changed. From a team-building perspective, they can now develop Horn and Henderson with one of the better CBs of a generation. Yeah, that is kind of crazy that they picked up CJ Henderson and Stephon Gilmore in a couple of weeks. They are really loading up this cornerback room. They have J.C. Horn, Dante Jackson, Stephon Gilmore, CJ Henderson, all in the same cornerback room right now with Jeremy Chin up top and Blackman up top. I mean, they got a really good secondary, and they're all young except for Gilmore now. The Panthers are loaded now. Just wait until Horn comes back. Exactly. That's what I was about to say. When Horn comes back, that secondary is going to be one of the best in the league for the next couple of years. I mean, if they can all learn from Gilmore and get the experience from Gilmore that you can't pay for in the NFL, they're going to be even better than they were going to be before that. All right. Everyone keep an eye on Twitter. Everyone keep an eye on the internet for Jaylon Smith. I don't expect him to have a deal done as quickly. He may sit out this week. He may not play this week for anyone, but it could happen. It could happen. RC Productions in here saying, I knew them scooping Mills. Gilmore was on his way out. Yeah, that was kind of interesting to see them pick up Jalen Mills, knowing Gilmore was going to be coming back at some point this season. Poor Perryman getting traded out of there to go to the Raiders and get dotted up by your former teammate. Oh, yeah. They got destroyed. All of the Chargers hand-me-downs to the Raiders got destroyed in that Monday Night Football game, which I was at, which is why my voice is a little bit hoarse still recovering. It was a great time. Don't teams cut players to then re-sign them on cheaper contract? Maybe that's what the Cowboys are doing. That could be a thing. But there's been rumors with Jaylon Smith for a while that he was going to be getting cut or getting released even in the offseason. And when you look at the Cowboys linebacker situation, I think they really believe in Jabril Cox. Obviously, Micah Parsons has come onto the scene and basically taken Jaylon Smith's spot on the field already. Van Der Esch is very solid still as well. But I think they want to get Jabril Cox out there. And they know that with Jaylon Smith there, they can't just bench the guy when he's getting paid so much money to play. And it's also damaging his career. So maybe there's a mutual agreement to separate, because it's damaging to his career to see all these rookies that were drafted, in the third, fourth round being played over him out there. So we'll see what happens with the Cowboys linebacker situation. I am a little bit surprised by the Jaylon Smith news, but we can move on to Jaylon Smith now. Jaylon Smith, here's what I got on here. The Cap Logic teams. Washington's hurting bad at linebacker right now. They could use him. The Bengals obviously could use everyone that they can grab. The Chargers are kind of hurting at linebacker. Kenneth Murray just went down. Kaiser White and Drew Tranquill played very well, a combination of the two, with Kyler Fackrell as well. But if you really look at the Chargers' depth at linebacker, is a serious risk with Kenneth Murray being out. And even before Kenneth Murray went down, the Chargers don't have the depth at linebacker that they'd like to have. And with Staley being the defensive-minded coach that he is, and with the defense playing as well as they are, they don't want to see a drop-off at that linebacker position. So I can see the Chargers going after Smith as well. I want the Chargers, as a Chargers fan, to go after Smith. I think it's a win-win scenario. You're going to get him for extremely cheap, and we have the cap space to do it. Next year, we're going to have even more cap space to spend on players if we don't re-sign Mike Williams. So we'll see what happens there. That's like a $15-16 million release there from him. So I'm excited to see the Chargers possibly pursue another linebacker to add to this team. A young guy who might still have something left in the tank, but even if he doesn't, like I said, I think it's a win-win for the Chargers. And same thing for Washington and Cincinnati. I put Tennessee on here because they're just hurting for any kind of defensive help. And I think that Jaylon's probably going to take a very, very low 1-year prove-it deal. So Tennessee possibly could be in the running for him with $6 million cap. I know that's a low number, and they may not want to spend it all on a linebacker with a little bit of risk here at this point in the season. But Tennessee's got to be feeling like after this loss to the Jets that they got to change something up on that side of the ball. The contenders that I have on here, I put the Raiders and Broncos because the Broncos won. They had the cap space to just blow it if they want to. I think they have around $19 million also. But their defense is balling. And I feel like if the Broncos are going to invest more cap, they're going to probably put it on the offensive side of the ball. They may think about, going after Deshaun Watson still. We don't know what the situation is going on with him. There's been rumors of him being traded every week. So we're kind of waiting for that news to possibly break as well. You got Green Bay on there because, again, they're in a situation where they have around $7 million to spend. So they could just do it just to do it and keep them away from other teams. And they could always use the help on defense as well. And then we put the Raiders, a team that is losing cornerbacks like crazy right now, signing people off the street, trying to bring them in. The linebacker core is a little banged up as well. They've been relying on Denzel Perryman, Corey Littleton, and others to kind of carry a linebacker core, and they've been overperforming to this point in the season, but we kind of saw what happened when they come back down to earth against the Chargers on Monday Night Football. The Raiders could still use some help on the defensive side of the ball, and if Jaylon Smith is cheap, I could see them going after him to go and try and grab him. But right now I think Washington is a team that would need him most, and I think that he would get some kind of sense or some kind of happiness from going to his rival team in the division in the Washington football team. What do you guys think about Jaylon Smith? Where do you guys want to see him ending up? I obviously want to see him go to the Chargers because I am a Chargers fan, and I know that we need linebacker depth. It's a big weakness on our team. So I'm not sure if the Chargers have any interest. They don't usually make moves like this. They're pretty conservative in situations like this. You don't usually see them making trades or anything mid-season. But this doesn't seem like there's a downside to this. And I actually think that Jaylon Smith might have more of a market than people think. And I think that he may go for, a nice little 1-year, $4 million deal or something to a team. The Cowboys owe him 7. Let's talk about the Cowboys situation with Jaylon Smith, by the way. If there's any Cowboys fans in here. It's kind of interesting that you guys are releasing him after week 4. I mean, you already knew what you had at linebacker position going into the season. They didn't let him go in the offseason, so I figured they had plans for him. And it's shocking to me that they release him because this guy has been a big part of the Cowboys over the last couple of years. I mean, he's a community guy who's been all over the community and gotten awards and stuff for that. He also was the team captain just last weekend for last weekend's game. He was a team captain. So this is interesting. This is intriguing that this happened in week 4 of the season and they didn't get a trade done or anything for him, that they kind of just cut him, which leads me to believe that it possibly could be a mutual agreement. And Jaylon Smith could have went to the team and said, hey, I understand what's happening. I'm a guy who had a big injury in college that's affected my career, obviously, but I've shown that I can be something in this league, that I can be a solid starter, if not a Pro Bowl level player in this league. But I have a sense of reality that Micah Parsons is here, Van Der Esch is here, Drivel Cox is here. Our defense is playing very well with me having limited snaps and me being phased out of the defense. Like everything is kind of lining for him to be on the bench for the most of the second half of the season, really. Maybe he went to them and he said, that's going to be really bad for my career. If you guys are interested in releasing me still, I would like my release. And I could have seen something like that going down. There definitely is more details to this because it doesn't really make that much sense that he would just leave. Chargers make sense for us, in my opinion. Staley could turn him into a good playmaker. And that's the thing. Kaiser White obviously balled out against the Raiders. We can't expect that from him every single week. Drew Tranquill, I have a little bit more confidence in because I've seen it from him on a consistent basis before. But at linebacker, the Chargers have a hole there. I'd say at right tackle, at linebacker. And I used to be concerned about the cornerback room, but now I'm very, 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 very confident in the cornerbacks. So no longer the secondary, but linebacker and right tackle. The Chargers got problems. So when you see a linebacker like this become available, you obviously start to think, well, this seems like a perfect fit for us. Chargers could lose White this free agency, I believe. Maybe bring Smith in for some competition. Yeah, we could see that too. We could see that angle too. And he wouldn't even need to come in and be a starter, but he's a guy that can be rotated in. He's a guy that can be rotated in who I think can still make plays on the football. And I think that he still could be a good pass coverage linebacker for the Chargers if they wanted to go get him. But as of right now, I've got Washington at the top just because they have so much cap space to spend and their linebacker situation is so shaky with Jamin Davis not quite balling out like I thought he would so far. And then Holcomb is injured right now, and he was their second linebacker, or maybe their first linebacker, with Jamin being the second, but he was a starting linebacker. And both those guys are struggling. And the linebacker core for Washington's been struggling in general. So that's where I think I could see him going. And like I said, the angle of Jaylon Smith going to a division rival to play against his former team twice a year probably would be a good idea or a fun idea in his own head if he's kind of choosing between teams that have similar offers for him. Anyone else have any thoughts on Jaylon Smith? Drop him in the chat. We'll see what he's at. Doubt the Bengals do anything. They hardly spend money. Yeah, and I agree with that. I think the Bengals could be in contention for Smith just because things seem to be turning there. And at 3-1, which I think the Bengals are going to have an eye-opening experience against the Packers this weekend. But at 3-1, you got to feel like you're kind of on the fringe of being a playoff contender. Or yeah, we're about to talk about this in a second too. You're kind of on the fringe of being a playoff contender or making the wild card possibly. So I don't know what the Bengals' aggression would be at this stage, but they're in a weird spot where they've overperformed probably their own expectations at this point. You got to be thinking of that. But yeah, I want to see him go to the Chargers. I think likely Smith ends up in Washington. I think the situation in Dallas is weird. So if you're a Cowboys fan, you're watching this, hop in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on it. I haven't talked to any Cowboys fans on their thoughts on it yet. I think something else is in this situation, in this story between the Cowboys and Jaylon Smith cutting ties and Jaylon Smith being released out into free agency to be picked up by any team week 4 of the season. Sometimes during like a bye week, you see stuff like this, and it's not usually players that are former Pro Bowlers and stuff like that or making big money. But week 4, such a weird time. Such a weird time. And it's going to be hard for him to go into a defense and learn the playbook and everything at this point. But by around week 6, like I said with Gilmore, you should be good to go. You should be almost there. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic, the last topic of this live. Just wanted to hop on it and react to a little bit because I had a lot of thoughts in my own head about these players going to different teams. But Matt Nagy has announced that going forward, Justin Fields is now the Chicago Bears starting quarterback. So Matt Nagy finally gets it all together, and he gives us official confirmation that he's going to play Justin Fields probably for the rest of the season, barring injury. Knock on wood. Let's hope that doesn't happen to Fields. Leave your thoughts in the live chat if you guys would like to, or in the comment section if you're watching the replay of this video, your thoughts on Fields officially being named the starter. I originally, after Fields' first start, I even made a TikTok about it and put up posts about it. I was actually against Fields starting, the following week. I feel like they should have thrown Andy Dalton back out there. But it wasn't because that I thought that Fields was that awful, although in that game he was awful. Let's not lie about it. The O-line was awful. The play calling was awful. Fields was awful. All three things. It was not Fields trying to overcome bad play calling and a bad O-line. Fields was also awful in the moments that the O-line held up and the play call was decent. But I didn't want him to play because if they're going to throw someone into the fire, why throw your franchise quarterback or who you want to be your franchise quarterback into the fire? Because that was very much a fire. The Bears were in a situation after that game against Cleveland where I was thinking this team is about to have a very, very ugly couple of weeks to an extent where their coach may not make it to week 8. That's how bad that game was against Cleveland. Play calling wise, like I said, the O-line was awful. The offense was awful in general. But Fields came out against Detroit, and he looked like a completely different guy. And he 180'd it, man. And he played so amazing. And it wasn't like jump off the screen and make me go, wow, that's crazy. But good enough for me to say, okay, there's some potential there, and maybe you guys should get him the reps now and get him the experience now because clearly that loss against the Browns and that really bad game against the Browns did not completely crush this kid's confidence because he responded with a really good game against Detroit the next week. So I'm back on the Fields hype train. I'm back on him starting for the rest of the year. And it's okay to adjust your opinions on sports. That was my opinion off of that one game that Justin Fields played in. And maybe I should have hit the brakes and said, whoa, let's just back up and think about it first. Maybe it was just one game. But when it's that bad, where they have less than 100 yards total offense, when it's that bad, you kind of go ahead and hit the button and say, let's just throw Andy Dalton back out there. But it looks like Fields is going to be the quarterback going forward. So Andy Dalton said that his time is now and his time ends after, 2 weeks in an injury. And now Fields is going to be the starter for the rest of the time. As he simply dad put in here, Fields was just named the starter. So that is interesting as well. And I think that's all the breaking news for the morning. If you guys want to jump in the chat the last second, leave some reactions to all of the news, especially the Fields news, Jaylon Smith news, and Stephon Gilmore news that broke in the last 24 hours. Please hop in the chat. Now I'm about to hit my outro in a minute here. Last call. Last call for the live chat. Again, if you're watching the replay, you can hop in the comment section, leave your opinion, and we'll see it and get to you and respond with our thoughts on what you say. Very interesting. Very interesting. Mike is growing as a sports fan. Yeah, I mean, I think that you're referencing me overreacting on Fields a little bit, and I'm okay to admit when I overreact a lot. I'm a pretty impulsive person, and I like being impulsive. I think that's a lot of fun. I'm impulsive with reason. We'll say that. We'll say impulsive sports fan with reason. Mike on the Mike's motto. Just came up with it live on the air. If no one else has any other chats, please like this video. I didn't probably plug that enough at all during this, but please like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. We post 10 to 15 videos a week, and then stuff like this happens where news breaks, and we just hop on and go live. We have the capability to do it, to just prepare stuff like this real quick and just hop on and go live real quick. So you want to be subscribed. You want to have notifications on so that way you're notified if we do go live randomly. Today we have a bunch of shows airing. Tomorrow night we're going to be covering the Thursday night football game, Friday night wars every week on Friday nights, and then we're going to be talking about football through the weekend, through week 5, and as we get into and get ready for week 6. Also, NBA talk is coming. NBA talk is coming. We're sneaking it back into the crosshairs and making a return here in the next couple of weeks, as well as the GOATed NBA news and talk show that GOATed Sports puts on every single week as well. So if you are an NBA fan, you have interest in the NBA, don't think we're just abandoning the NBA. Basketball's coming back, and we're going to be going into basketball as well as football at the same time with the MLB playoffs coming up. So we may even talk about that. They've actually already started with some playing games. So all that's coming to the Warzone Sports Network. my humble abode, our humble abode, your humble abode. Welcome to it. Please subscribe, smash the like button. Thank you guys for tuning in. Breaking news. Like I said, leave any thoughts in the comment section. I'm very interested in what everyone's thinking tonight.